I remember when the internet be free. Free of those trying to price gouge you using your cookie data. Free to allow you to watch whatever you want around the world. But luckily for us, there be a shark in these waters. A surf shark. And if you go to surfshark.com/4starbento, you can get 4 free extra months of Surfshark services when you use the code 4starbento at checkout. That's right. Surfshark is a VPN services that allows you to mask some of your browsing data to protect you from those that wish to do you harm, lad. They'll protect you and allow you to watch what you want around the world. They'll let you make sure you're not getting price gouged by your IP information. And most importantly, they'll keep your cookies safe. So keep your cookies where they belong and use Surfshark. Surfshark.com/4starbento. 4-star bento at checkout. Get 4 free extra months of Surfshark services.
Stephan.
Yeah.
You like Togashi?
I do. I like Togashi's work.
Me too.
Or at least I like his shonen work. I haven't checked out his other work.
The same. I like Hunter x Hunter and Yu Yu Hakusho. Which do you think is better?
I think that's a complicated thing that could work as a interesting discussion.
Well, shit. I guess we're doing that.
I guess we have to do a whole video about it.
Fuck.
Running in a crowd in a faceless town, I need to feel the touch of a friend. I don't know where to go.
People don't usually see me talking about anime a whole lot nowadays.
No,
but I do like anime. So does Nick. That's like you like anime that isn't Dragon Ball sometimes.
It's true. It's true. I very much enjoy Togashi's work. In fact, he's like my favorite shonen guy. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things where like we're not like big otaku anime guys, but we do like plenty of anime. It's just kind of special, like specific stuff.
Yeah, it takes a lot of word of mouth to get me into something. But sometimes, like in the Toonami era, yes, I was in. I watched the entire Toonami run. I didn't hit with everything. I was never much of a Gundam guy. Never quite got into the mecha scene, but I think we
both love G Gundam though, because that's just shonen anime.
I was gonna say I love the like shonen Fighto type of anime, and that's why Yu Yu Hakusho for the longest time was my favorite anime of all time.
And I only just realized we both did a bridge series.
We did.
Of Yu Yu Hakusho.
We did. That's how I made my name back in 2007.
It's not how I made my name. Nobody remembers the one I did. I made my name with the Attack on Titan abridged thing, which I don't even give a shit about Attack on Titan anymore.
Time, it does not stop for anything.
Oh, no, yeah. You're so old.
I am. I'm so incredibly old.
I'm not that much younger.
No.
But
but we both remember the Toonami run of Yu Yu Hakusho, which eventually became the Adult Swim Toonami run. But it wasn't until I moved to Texas, actually, that I discovered Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, I think... I mean, I lived in Texas the entire time I knew about anime, but Hunter x Hunter I discovered somewhere around like probably 2013, 2012.
2014 for me. It was like when I moved in, because Netflix finally picked up like the first something episodes of it.
Might have been around then for me too then, because I think that's around when I picked it up as well.
Yeah, because I'd heard about it before. I'm like, oh, this is from the guy that did Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah.
I'm going to check it out and watch it. It took me a couple of tries to get into it. Unlike Yu Yu Hakusho, which had me almost immediately. But Hunter x Hunter, for whatever reason, I could not keep up with the Hunter exam. Like I had to retry it a couple of times before I finally watched it. And
I was
got
into it pretty immediately.
Okay.
But I also I like how like kind of more comfy the first arc of Hunter x Hunter is. It's a different vibe than the rest of the show, but I still like that vibe. And to be clear, we're talking about the 2011 version.
Yes.
I'm not sure either of us have watched.
I've seen parts of the other version, which was done by the same studio that did the Dark Tournament arc.
Yeah. And like the clips I've seen are very good. But I already like the 2011 version, and I didn't.
It's the one that's more readily available.
Yeah, and so I've never sought out the first few arcs of the old version.
I hear the other one ended around like Greed Island?
Greed Island was an OVA special that people don't like.
Okay.
It ended before that, like late when it was going to lead into Greed Island, it stopped because the manga hadn't gone much further than that at the time.
Yeah, it's interesting that we're having this conversation because I did recently rewatch through all of Yu Yu Hakusho, like during the move down here to Cali.
It's great comfort stuff when you know.
Yeah, it was one of my background shows. It was one of the things that I put on during cardio at the gym. I just popped it back on and realized, yeah, no, this is the quintessential. Like when I think shonen anime, all of its tropes and everything that I love about it, I think Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah, like most of the public thinks of Dragon Ball, but like the modern version of shonen, I think is codified kind of with Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter. Like those two series, maybe like more influenced the modern take.
Yeah,
on
where the villains are a bit more nuanced.
Yeah.
They have
battle shonen, we should say.
Yeah, battle shonen. They have like all. I love Togashi's work with characters. Togashi's character work, to me, is nearly unrivaled in the shonen space.
I like that he, you know, like we're both writers and actors, and I feel like for me it really informs my writing that I can just jump into a character and just kind of just think like they're thinking for a bit. Like that is how I write. And I think Togashi kind of does the same thing where he just thinks about things from their perspective. And so it fleshes out every single character. It's like, well, what would I think? Right? And then he just writes it.
Yeah, think about somebody as like bog standard as Toguro. Just this big, strong wall for your hero to overcome.
And I think that's how he started. And then he's like, but how does this guy get this way?
Yeah, like what's his deal? What's the deal with him and his weird little gremlin brother?
What's his motivation? Like an actor would think.
Yeah, and it starts, you know, as you get further into the Dark Tournament, which to me is peak shonen anime. You get more about Toguro, his backstory, his motivations, and you can really see him kind of refining his style and how he works his characters. Because one thing that I truly, truly love about Hunter x Hunter is that every single one of the villains is their own character. Like,
Now my family's calling me.
oh,
1 second.
we're gonna take a quick break.
Hello? And we're back.
Yeah, one thing that I really love about Togashi is that, like, you can see that from Yu Yu Hakusho to Hunter x Hunter, he's clearly refined a lot of ideas and a lot of his style and his character work specifically. Every single character, be they villain or hero in Hunter x Hunter, has complexity to them beyond just the standard hero-villain dynamic. Like, even Gon, who is this, you know, ragamuffin sort of like idealistic kind of like he's like, you know, pure good boy, but he instantly makes friends with somebody who like murders people for a living, who has killed more people than he'll meet.
He's all at once like very typical shonen protagonist, but also like Togashi also like kind of just again digging into the character and being like, but this kid's to be this kid, you have to be kind of fucked up.
He's
right?
a psycho.
Yeah,
Gon is like
he's intensely empathetic, but also capable of murdering anybody he dislikes. Like emotionally, he's capable of it.
Yeah, once you cross Gon, you're dead on sight.
Well, and even like during the Hunter exams, right? Like even though it's like kind of more of a like comfier experience, you still see things like him just sort of dead-eyed watching other people die during the exam and thinking nothing of it.
He was like, wow, I guess they weren't ready for this. They weren't ready for this life. Like he's so accepting of everything that happens in front of him until it becomes too real.
Until it's personal.
Yeah.
And like in some ways it's like, you know, and I made a video that I don't actually like anymore, to be clear, about this that's on this channel. Like where I was like, Gon's kind of a sociopath.
I mean, he kind of is.
He kind of is. I think the way I approached it was bad in the video I made, but he is kind of a sociopath. That I do agree with that, and I also still agree with the thing that like shonen, like Hunter x Hunter, is kind of a subversive take on battle shonen. People have like ridiculed people who say that, and like it's just good shonen. It's like, no, it isn't. I've seen just good shonen. There's a lot of just good shonen.
It is good shonen, but it is a subversion. Like
those two things are kind of important to making a good shonen anime.
Yeah.
Is subverting it somehow. Otherwise, you're boring.
And that's what separates it from Yu Yu Hakusho, where Yu Yu Hakusho is just kind of like peak shonen throughout. Hunter x Hunter does that, where it takes it and then it kind of transitions it into this like almost moral life lesson of like, this is what happens when you pursue that kind of power in this world, like quote unquote realistically.
However, though, like when you actually think about the time that Yu Yu Hakusho came out in, a lot of things it does are still kind of subversive for
A
the
bit,
time.
yeah.
Especially once you get to the Chapter Black saga.
Yes.
Like incredibly subversive for the time. Like things were not morally complicated in Battle Shonen. As good as Dragon Ball is, it's not good because it's complicated.
No.
It's incredibly uncomplicated, and that's the way it's good.
That's what makes it charming. That's what makes that world.
That's the kind of good it is. It's simplicity.
There is good and
part
evil.
is part of it. Yeah.
Whereas in like once you get introduced to, well, I think it goes back even to Chirukane and introducing the Black Club, that there is this group of humans that are worse than many demons that we know. Like you're introduced to, you've already been introduced to sympathetic demons like Kurama. And now you're kind of getting some more edge on Hiei, where, you know, he has a sister. And you get introduced to this innocent little demon named Yukina, who's being exploited by humanity.
Yeah, and I also appreciate that about like Togashi's work, and it's something that I also I approach fantasy writing with, which is that like no group of people
are just evil.
Because that's a fucked up way to look at the world. So I appreciate that he doesn't look at the world that way, and like I also try to not do that in my writing, because like I think it's just, you know, and that's why like I'm a supporter of like stuff in like D&D, like that chuds are mad about, where it's like, oh, now races can't be evil. Yeah, because that's a fucked up way to look at the world.
There are certain ideologies a culture might have that might make them look like evil in a certain from a certain perspective,
but they are not
evil
race anymore, and that's a good thing. It's wild to be mad about that, unless you're racist. But like, yeah, and I appreciate that about Togashi's world too, because like he immediately is like, not all demons are evil.
Yeah. Which is why I think they use the word apparition more than they use demon per se. Like where they're spirits. They're from the demon world, but they aren't like necessarily these fiends or devils or something that you're led to believe when you hear the word demon.
Well, and also like, you know, we're also coming at this from the perspective of both of us I probably prefer the dub. One of the only times I do personally, not to saying the dubs are bad, I just have preferences.
There's one scene that I go between, which I find very fascinating in how they translated it. The scene in Chapter Black when Kurama and Kaito, I think is his name, the dude that's essentially his rival in school, are having that word game.
Yes.
Which
I think his name is Kaito.
Yeah, where they're having this like battle of wits. Yeah, where
that must have been so hard to translate.
I know.
Yeah.
I like that's something that I would love to have like an actual breakdown on in terms of like the localization.
Yeah, like find the person who did that, because that must have been such a puzzle.
The Japanese alphabet. For those that don't know the scene, basically, this dude has a power where if you say a certain word or like say a certain combination of letters together, you lose your soul. Basically, you die. But in Japanese and English, they had to write that two completely different ways. So the localization of that is just masterwork.
Yeah, like it's because like it's already a very complicated puzzle in Japanese.
Yeah, where they're just eliminating certain letters of the Japanese alphabet.
Yeah, and then you have to recreate that puzzle in an English context and then follow those rules.
We can't use the letter Z anymore. Can't use Y. Can't use X. Can't use W. It's so cool, that scene. Yeah. Which I think is just another testament to Togashi's writing, where it's not standard shonen. He always has like a wrinkle to it.
And I think that's also like that's the beginning of him being inspired by stands, I think.
Yes.
But like taking it to another level, which he does way more of in Hunter x Hunter, where he's like,
Nen is my favorite battle shonen magic system.
It's the best one. Now, it's also the best one because you have to have kind of boring scenes where you explain a lot of details that can really lose people.
Explain their powers. Yeah.
Like the part where I nearly fell off was the Heavens Arena. tournament. Is that what it's called?
Really?
Because they spend so much time fucking explaining shit. Like, it's just exposition for a long time, and that's annoying.
It's a training arc where they have to explain the whole magic system to you.
Yeah, and it's like, there probably was a better way to do that, but, like, you know, I think Togashi is the attitude of just like, just get it all out there, and then we can move on.
Maybe, yeah. And they do like expand upon it as you go anyway. Especially when it comes to like the Hatsu side of it, which is the more stand side of Nen, the specialized, this is what my magic is kind of thing.
And I think that maybe it's also connected, like, in the Western English speaking world, we have different standards of like good exposition. In Japan, like, just being wordy and just saying things outright is fairly common, like in the Japanese language. But like in English, we want to be guided along. We don't want to be handheld.
Yeah.
We hate it.
and it gave him like a reason for people being able to use different types of abilities, like the type of Nen specialist that you are, you know, whether you're an enhancer, you're a transmuter, you're a conjurer.
And once it's established, it's amazing.
Yeah. And in Yu Yu Hakusho, it's easy enough. It's just like, oh, I'm just a psychic and this is my ability, or I'm a demon. I'm a wind demon, so I control the wind. And
you know, and
that's fine.
In some ways, like, that can be better, right? Like,
that might be better in some ways, where it's just like, this is just what I do. Fuck you.
I think from a storytelling perspective, like purely storytelling, it is better, right? Because you don't have to spend a long time.
But from a power system standpoint,
it's less nuance.
Yeah.
Because like Nen's nuance eventually allows for really interesting stories.
Yeah, like the
idea
that like
a lot of gristle.
the idea that like even if like you're really really powerful, if you're being countered by a certain ability, like Kurapika's whole bit with the spiders. Like, they just have like an ability that no matter how strong this immensely strong crew is, Kurapika can just end them.
But yeah, but he has, and I love like the thing of like
condition.
You have to set a rule for yourself, and if you break the rule, you die. You die, and it has to be that serious where like you cannot break certain rules. And that's the only thing that allows you to have that kind of power. And like, you know, eventually that has a very dramatic
impact on Gon.
By the way, I guess we should have said this at the beginning. Spoilers for anything.
Yeah, you're watching a discussion video. We'll probably have to put a disclaimer at the front.
Yeah, we'll put a disclaimer at the front as well. But like now it's in words as well. We're gonna spoil anything.
The fuck out of these things if you haven't seen them.
But yeah, when Gon like unknowingly, I think is the implication, like makes a rule with
pact
himself.
with himself. It's like I don't care anymore. I give up everything so that I can have the power to fucking kill you.
He's just feeling that so strongly that his Nen reacts to it and creates the rule. And I kind of love that also, like, Togashi's kind of stuck with that. Gon's not really in the story anymore.
Yeah, I have not kept up with the manga, but I know that Gon ain't in it anymore.
No, and like the thing is, he built a world so interesting and filled with so many characters with so much genuine depth that's okay.
Yeah, Gon doesn't have to be the main character.
And he spent so much time building up Jing that like having Jing be one of the main characters now is kind of a draw in and of itself.
Yeah, it's from what I understand right now, it's Leorio, Jing, and Kurapika.
Not really Leorio at this point.
He was in it for a bit, from what I remember. Like he was there with Jing. Jing, I don't know. Like
I don't think Leorio is on the boat, but
I remember Leorio being a part of something, at least something that I read.
He was like a part of the initial like hey we're about to embark on this, but he didn't go on the boat.
Yeah.
But and like boy, if you love all the rules and like more and more complicated rules and like really rules based stuff, boy,
the manga goes nuts. Like he goes full goes full stand with these
now they just have stands. Yeah. But it's a whole like kind of separate system that allows things to be even more complicated.
Eventually we'll either get an anime adaptation or eventually I'll read the manga. I don't know.
It's hard to say. Yeah, like I assume they will make an adaptation of this next arc when this part is finished and they have some sort of ending for it. Right now, there's nothing that can work as an ending.
Yeah, it's like what Miura did in Berserk when they were on the boat for like 3.5 years. But except this one is like a lot more is happening than what happened on the boat. Like, even though they are also on a boat.
Yeah, they were off doing other stuff, I guess. But like focusing on other characters during the boat ride. But like here, like the boat is the story, and it's a huge political like very political assassination based story, and it's just an entirely different kind of like thriller story than we've ever gotten before.
Yeah, but that's beyond the anime.
Yeah.
Moving back to the anime, when it
For the normies.
for the normies like me,
Like you.
when it comes to like the anime itself, it's hard to say which one does combat better because, I mean,
There's
first of all,
something to simplicity.
Yes, there's a lot to simplicity where, and animation for that matter, where Dark Tournament to me is still peak shonen like battle anime.
Yeah.
But even beyond that, goddamn, some of the stuff they do in Chapter Black, like even blows some of the stuff from the Dark Tournament out of the water.
Yeah.
Yusuke versus the Doctor, visually, one of the most striking animated scenes I've ever watched.
And like the different ways the characters with powers like have to use their powers in creative ways, right? Like when the guy with the shadow power that Naruto stole, it's fine. It's okay to steal it. He did a great job stealing.
They do
it.
different stuff with it, kind of.
No, Shikamaru's great, and
Yeah.
and they do different things with it. But like the way he grabs Yusuke to tell him, "Don't go,"
Don't go.
like it's this is a big deal.
Yeah, this is
And
dangerous.
Even someone as stupid as Yusuke can work it out. He's not stupid. He's just not traditionally intelligent.
Yusuke's dense.
Yeah.
He's like he's
great
got,
at lateral thinking.
He's got book smarts, or he's got street smarts.
Yeah, street smarts, no book smarts. Yeah.
Kurama has the book smarts.
Yeah. But like, in that whole like thing, the only thing I don't like is Genkai kind of removing the moral dilemma at the end of that whole bit with the Doctor, and which I think is one of the more like. It's one of the things that I think Togashi being afraid, like pulling those punches in Yu Yu Hakusho, is maybe one of the weakest aspects of it.
Maybe, but that entire thing, like, that's the entire moral dilemma of the arc is the problem, because it's about, like, does Yusuke have what it takes to, like, first of all, does he have the strength to kill Sensui? Second of all, does he have the resolve? And that's where you're kind of really introduced to the concept, where Genkai's like, hey, look, this guy was about to kill everybody. I dealt with that for you. You know, I made sure he's not dead. But are you going to be able to do it if you have to? Because this guy's trying to end the world.
Well, and you know, I like it. Kind of like, I think it works because it's part of like the evil plan. But like they also like later on with the kid, right? They kind of pull their punches a bit.
Yeah,
Like they go the boy with the arcade.
Oh yeah.
Like they have the moment where like he dies, but then they also like pull that back a bit. However, it plays into the plot of like using up, I know his name. What the fuck? Koenno's power, to like to do their evil plan. So like
Yeah, it was part of Sensui's plan.
that helps, but like it is a thing where it's like I kind of wish sometimes he just let fucked up stuff happen. But I get that also he was writing for a different audience at the time. Like, it's, but like in terms of like emotional highs, it's hard to beat the Dark Tournament.
It really is. And I'm hard pressed to come up with many examples in Hunter x Hunter that really compare to some of the battle highs in Yu Yu Hakusho. Like there's some, don't get me wrong, Gon versus Hisoka in Heaven's Tower is a fun fight. A lot of the stuff in the Chimera Ant arc, if it weren't for the fact that they would constantly get interspliced and cut between, I think a lot of those fights are fantastic as well.
Yeah, I think the hardest part of the Chimera Ant arc is maintaining invested in everything.
Yes, because there's a lot going on to the
Yeah.
point that the narrator was working overtime.
That said, I love the narrator. Some
I
people
do
don't
too.
love it.
I do too.
But I love when you get to the end of an episode of a 30-minute, like 20 to something minute episode, and he goes, "It's been half a second."
Yeah. 3 seconds after Killua pointed at his eye.
Like it has been 10 seconds since they started, and you're like, "What the fuck is happening?"
They've had 7 full conversations.
But the thing is, like, that is goofy ass shit, but
I
I
know.
love the kind of goofy it is.
It's great. The Chimera Ant arc might be my favorite arc in Hunter x Hunter.
I think it is for me as well. Like, but it also like that is the most eat your vegetables arc.
It is
in as well, but like once you eat those vegetables, it's great.
It also has so much heart. Every time Komugi gets introduced on a rewatch, I'm like, oh, there she is.
Oh, by the time we get to the end and like when the credits are rolling at the end of the thing, I am genuinely in tears.
Broken.
I am in tears, sobbing. I'm getting a little teary eyed. Also, like there's a moment that like just breaks me where the pink ant girl goes back to her mom and her mom instantly hugs her.
Yeah,
like you can see me tearing up right now talking about it. It fucks me up. Where she
Hunter x Hunter
recognizes
has so much more heart than Yu Yu Hakusho. It's crazy.
But also like Yu Hakusho has a lot of heart too.
It does, but it's apples and oranges almost.
Well, and you have to like apply yourself more, like for Yu Yu Hakusho to see it, because like I see you, like to me, Yu Yu Hakusho is very, very moving as a story about a boy that society doesn't value, and they're wrong. Like even heaven, like the society of heaven doesn't value him.
We never saw you doing that in a million years.
Everybody writes him off. Everybody thinks he doesn't care about anything.
We're just going to use you to kill some demons for us.
Like he's just a juvenile delinquent. And like at the end of really the Dark Tournament saga is where like Yusuke's real development ends, in my opinion. Like in terms of like his high point in his character arc is when like his deep empathy for other people is his power. That is so.
Once Kuwabara goes down and he lets it all out.
That is so genuinely like I find it very genuinely moving and impactful. That Yusuke is intensely empathetic, and that is where all his power actually comes from. Is his humanity, and I like that. That's the culmination of his story.
And it is interesting because like I will shit on it, and a lot of people will shit on the final arc of Yu Yu Hakusho. But it does kind of bring it back around to his humanity as his strength, because the only reason he's able to fight Yomi at the end is because he stops using demon energy and starts using spirit energy, which Yomi can't combat.
Yeah. Well, and like that pulls back from like my biggest problem with that final arc, which is that I hate the reveal that Yusuke is part demon.
Yeah.
It bothers me. Now, you know, that reveal that he has to use spirit energy, which is I think only in the anime.
Maybe. I it's been so long since I read the manga.
The anime skips over less than the manga did.
Yes.
The manga just skips through the tournament. The tournament just doesn't happen. Like on the page.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and like the thing is, I'm not angry about that. I'm just sad about it. Because there's a lot of circumstances that led to that were just like the stress of the
writing the weekly schedule.
Really crazy job that mangaka have to do. Even with assistance. It just got to him, and it genuinely like broke his body. To
the point that he's still struggling with it today.
Yeah. And like the thing is and that's why I never complain about hiatuses, because like, you know, we work a creative job, and like, yes, we're so lucky, but sometimes YouTube's also a fucking grind.
It is.
We were struggling to come up with this video.
Yeah, we were shooting ads earlier. It's like, we gotta have things, and here we are.
And we just decided like this is something we can just really dig into because we both really love these stories. But like, you know, like art jobs can be the kind of grind that in your head you're like, I don't get to complain because I'm lucky to do this. Other people don't get to do this.
Yeah.
So I don't get to be tired.
So when he doesn't when he doesn't put that entire tournament to page, it just kind of
that's just how broken he was, because like if he could have done it, he would have. Right?
I mean, he already wrote the best tournament arc in all of anime.
Yeah. And like, you know, he was really struggling to tell the story at all. But you know, it's a thing where like you can feel like the darkness, like his darkness seeping into the Chapter Black story, like just happening in his head, like his depression really affecting him.
Yeah,
it leads into a really good story. But
yeah, the idea that there's like this MacGuffin out there that can make anybody in humanity just truly hate society, hate everything enough that they just want it gone.
Yeah, and again, that's stuff like he kind of like came back to with the Chimera Ant arc.
A bit. Yeah, like the entire identity of the king And his whole arc is fucking masterful to me, where the king is constantly battling with the idea that like he is at this point the strongest creature on this continent. We don't know about planet because the planet's fucking massive, I guess. But on this continent, there's never been anything as strong as the king. Nothing can combat him. And so he's trying to figure out what exactly that means, because he finds the weakest creature in Komugi who has bested him in something. And he could never overcome that. So what is power, what is strength is key to what the king is.
And I think it's also very intelligent to tell a story about how you can learn empathy. It's not something you're innately born with. You have to learn it.
To the point that he genuinely loves her. Like that relationship is, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It's such
it brings me to tears.
It's such a beautiful story. I love that whole arc,
and it's genuinely wholesome. Like there's other anime that would make it fucking weird. This one doesn't make it weird at all. There's nothing weird about it. It's just a genuinely wholesome relationship.
When the entire operation shows up to kill him, they end up incidentally hurting Komugi, and his one directive is protect her. You guys, your deal's with me. I'll go wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
Just leave her alone.
And it's so interesting that like this like lovable like kind of Master Roshi without the pervert stuff.
He less pervert stuff.
Much less.
Yes. It's still implied that he's very much kind of a lech.
Luckily, it was enough where I got to forget about it, I guess. But
several characters refer to him as that lecherous old man or that pervert.
Oh yeah, but he doesn't like do anything on it.
No, he doesn't do shit
that's
like
why
that.
That's why
he only does like one thing on screen, I think, and he just like looks at somebody's tits basically.
But like the kindly old mentor guy.
Yeah.
Like it's like by the end you kind of don't respect him. Like, you don't respect the way he views the world.
He shows himself to be an asshole.
Yeah, like he's
and
kind of...
And he's a dog of the world. Like
he's kind of evil. Like...
A little. Like, you... Again, Togashi does this thing where he writes a character so well that you kind of understand where they're coming from.
But the way he sees the world is evil. Like the way he sees other things that aren't human.
The way he sees the world is flawed.
Yeah.
Because he looks at the king... And he's not necessarily wrong, because the king this entire time is telling him, you know what? I'll give you your people your reservations. I will give you a space to exist, and not all of you will be my food. So he knows that this creature is still going to commit mass genocide. So he has to do what he's got to do.
Well, and at the beginning, but as you see, the thing that he's like, when he sees that Meruem is like developing empathy, for some reason that's the point where he's like, I have to kill this motherfucker, which is so strange. It's so telling of like a worldview. It's
interesting because like I read that in the way that it's like he sees Meruem on this border, but he also sees him as this evolution of humanity, which kind of like in an X-Men sense, they're worried about being replaced, which they would be because the king is literally growing more ants.
Well, the thing is like Meruem does need to be stopped, but like it's just the fact that like his breaking point for like I will do anything to stop you is he sees him developing empathy, and he's like, that's dangerous. And I never fully understand why, but I find it so interesting. At least that's how I see that moment.
I guess I read that moment a bit differently. Like at that point Netero is basically looking at him like, man, you're coming around to something. I like, he sees him as a combatant, not only to respect, but like something that is like, he's there to do a job. He already has the bomb in him. He's going to fucking die no matter what.
He just doesn't like seem like aggressively like, I gotta kill this motherfucker, until he can start to see him as human.
I feel like he doesn't see him as like, I gotta kill this motherfucker, until it's like, okay, he's not even taking me as like, he's not showing me any respect.
But yeah, like it is still a thing like where like the last image you see of Netero is just him like as like a hollowed out, fucked up husk, where he seems so hateful, and that's very interesting.
And that is the point where he's like, you don't understand the evils of humanity. This is why you could never win. And he's right. Humanity is pretty unequaled in terms of its shittiness.
Yeah, well, and you know, very like very very Japanese like thing to like, and what's the symbol of ultimate human evil?
Massive nuke.
The atom
A
bomb.
massive poison nuke that will
and-
destroy everything.
And to be clear, the Japanese people are correct about that.
Yes.
The atom bomb and the usage of it is one of the most evil things humanity has ever done to other people. Among many other things at the time that were the most evil things people have ever done to other people.
His entire thing is like the level of evil that humanity is willing to do. There is no cap.
Yeah. And but I do love that like we can have very different takes on that scene because it's, you know, he doesn't completely spell it out like I mean, he just says what they're thinking.
You're given this entire backstory of him like shortly before that where, you know, he's very grateful for the power that, you know, he has been able to attain.
But he dedicated his life to it.
Yeah, and he dedicates his life to it, and then as soon as he gains more power, he becomes a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
He's like, yep, what are you gonna do about it? You gonna follow me now?
Well, and it almost feels like, you know, just because, you know, so many artists, so many of their stories are partially about being an artist. It feels like an older artist who's like, I worked so hard to get where I am. And then you see a new artist who just right out the gate is better than you, like at art or whatever. And you're like, fuck you.
One thing, and another thing that I think Hunter x Hunter does do better than Yu Yu Hakusho is the training arcs. I love Hunter x Hunter's training arcs. I love Greed Island.
Well, Yu Yu Hakusho doesn't do them.
Exactly.
It just skips through it.
The closest,
now to a point I kind of like that.
So you're not a fan of training arcs. I am a fan of training arcs.
I can like a training arc, but he was like, I don't have anything interesting to do with this, so he just doesn't
We're
do
just
it.
gonna have it happen off screen.
I think both are good options. Like
Okay.
either don't do the training arc or do it interesting.
Which do you prefer? Out of curiosity.
If you can tell a good story with a training arc, I'd love to see it. But if you don't think you have an interesting story, I love skipping it. Like don't feel like you have to.
Okay.
I think both are great answers to the problem of a boring training arc.
Because in Yu Yu Hakusho, Yusuke shows up, fights in the Genkai tournament, and then off-screen trains with her.
Yeah, and I think a bad answer to that question is the one most often used, which is bench your main character for a while other people do things, and then every once in a while you'll
So
cut
the
back
Dragon
to your
Ball
main
Z
character.
method?
Dragon Ball Z method, the Naruto method, where like you just sort of bench your character for a while and focus on other people. Now sometimes those stories with other people are great, but I don't like the back and forth. Just have them be off screen if it's not going to be interesting.
Yeah, if you have a story that you want to tell with another character.
In Naruto, I think they actually handled it very well. I just think generally it's not a good idea. Because like in Naruto, I'm referring to when Shikamaru was basically the main character for a while. And Naruto was learning about the elemental
They do it to Naruto a lot. Like at the beginning of the Ninja War as well, when they just kind of had him training to...
And that's when it's not very good.
Yeah.
Like, it was important information, but we could have gotten that in a chapter. And also I think
Bleach doesn't do it very well either.
Yeah, like luckily they like Naruto did it better earlier on with like training arcs where like there was interesting stories woven in. And then like in the Shikamaru stuff, I love the Shikamaru stuff.
That's one of the best arcs in Naruto.
Which it's kind of hard to like talk about Hunter x Hunter and not talk about how it also affected Naruto, because boy are they connected. I feel like Hunter x Hunter is Kishimoto's primary motive, like primary inspiration for a lot of things.
Quite possibly.
Certainly the tuning exams. The tuning exams do not exist without the Hunter exams.
I feel like that's an entire different conversation, honestly. Like we could talk about like Hunter x Hunter and Naruto, but
maybe that'll be a video later. Tell us if you like that in the comments.
Yeah, if you enjoyed this conversation. But as far as like Hunter x Hunter being a continuation on Yu Yu Hakusho, it's interesting looking back and seeing how Togashi kind of like iterated on certain things that he had done previously. Like I feel like the entire Hunter exam and the Genkai tournament, they have so many similarities between them where the Hunter exam is a lot more fleshed out and thoughtful.
Hunter exam is a much better version of what he was playing with the Genkai tournament. And it's a great example of like, you know, I wouldn't call the Genkai tournament a failure.
No.
But like you kind of have to fail a little bit to get better. Like that's everything,
but
right?
It's much lesser.
It's not as good, and he just did it again, but better.
It's Duplo to Lego,
and it's a great like artistic like creative lesson to be like, you can just try again, change the circumstances, change how you do it, try again.
And I love that since he already did the best tournament arc in all of anime, he doesn't even bother in Hunter x Hunter to do like a real tournament.
Yeah, he just sort of like and it's like a good version of what he had to do at the end of Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah.
Where it's satisfying when at the end of the 100 exams when like you can't finish the tournament because it leads to a different story.
Yeah.
It's a lead in. It's not, and we're done.
Yeah. Whereas, and it almost feels like he even pokes fun at tournament arcs in Heaven's Arena when they're going up to the top. It's like, I wonder what happens if you hit the top floors. Like, well, if you hit the top 10 floors, you get to be entered into Battle Coliseum, and you get to fight in this tournament. And they're like, eh.
Well, and I'd say that's the thing, and this is also very important to talk about with Togashi. That's Togashi's gamer coming out.
Yeah.
Like, because like I think that's him, like the grind of video games. That like where it's like, okay, and at a certain point you're just winning to win, and that's not interesting anymore.
Which is one thing that I really love about Greed Island is that since you know Togashi is a gamer,
Yeah.
the vibe there is
Oh yeah,
so
he
strong.
designed an amazing game.
I know people who hate Greed Island. I can't get behind that. Greed Island might be my second favorite arc.
I understand. It's nowhere near my favorite arc, but I like it. But like I understand that like you don't feel the stakes the same way.
No, but
It's
something
a
about that is
huge-
refreshing after York New.
I think that's actually I would argue as well that that's actually important after York New, but it goes on for a little longer than you maybe want a little like palate cleanser arc to go.
Maybe.
But like, you know, the villain I think it's really just the villains are weak.
I
Not,
like the way
in
they
terms of
resolve it
characterization.
though. Like, yeah, Genthru is kind of like
who
well,
cares?
yeah, I don't give a shit about Genthru or the bombers who I
Yeah.
can't even remember the names of.
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, but I don't think they were ever meant to be anything more than a final boss of the game.
And part of me thinks that people would like love it a lot more if the emotional high of the story was the dodgeball game.
Maybe.
Like if you did that and then like, all right, we're done.
Because watching Gon, Hisoka, and Killua team up to win, fucking great.
Yeah.
And how Hisoka's like, sorry, we aren't dealing with anything but a proper win. Fuck you.
Yeah. And it's also like, I understand why people don't love Hisoka being near the boys so much.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I think it's
He's
partially,
a bad person.
it's partially brilliant to be like, what is the most scary villain, like rival for children to have?
a pedophile.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But boy, it's entirely correct and understandable to be made incredibly uncomfortable by
Boy,
that.
is he an effective character.
Yeah. Like, and it's also like kind of weird to make that character a little likable. Because, and I guess he's never like fully established as like legit a pedophile, but like he is.
He's horny for combat.
Except for the part where he's staring at their asses,
Yeah.
which is the most blatant it gets.
Yeah.
And like, I like that's one of those things where like if someone says that kind of ruins it for me, I'm like, I entirely understand. Like, it's sad that you're missing out
Absolutely
on other
understandable.
stuff. That is 100% reasonable, especially if you have your own shit like going on. I would never blame someone
No.
for that being a line for them. Like it's just sad that you'll miss out on all the great stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Greed Island, if it ended with like the dodgeball stuff, I imagine people would have a much better opinion. It's just that it goes on a little too long with like focusing on those villains we don't care about.
And that's fair. I can see that being kind of like a weaker part of the arc. I just kind of enjoy it throughout. Like it's
Well,
almost
if you're
tied,
interested in the game design of the game,
Which I am.
that helps.
Yeah, it's kind of tied with York New for me in terms of like where I put it, because York New to me is a little wonkily paced in the anime.
And York New, I love a lot more. Like,
That's fair.
Like, well, and I think it's partially just because I love the neo-noir vibes. I love the crime film stuff. I love crime films in general.
I think the spiders are like probably my favorite crew of characters.
Yes, I
I love their relationships. I love their dynamic, and I love, like, again, the thing that Togashi does just so damn well.
They're very human,
Yeah, making these characters feel so real.
yes, like they're incredibly human. They
all have their own
doing
motivation.
bad things.
Yeah.
They should not be doing them. They're wrong to do it. But also, you know, yeah, there are like their motivations are understandable in a way because
they're a crew. They came up together. They
lived in the worst kind of poverty you can imagine.
Yeah. And they're typically robbing bad people, but sometimes they are doing awful, horrific things like committing genocide against an entire clan because they like the eyeballs.
Yeah, and like, there's no justifying that.
Nope.
You can understand where they're coming from and how they got to this point, and like, you
and
can
then
respect
they can
their
still
care
do
for
bad
each other.
things.
Yeah, you can respect their care for each other, but they're also evil people.
Yeah, they're willing to torture and murder to do whatever the fuck they want.
And I think
because they came up in a dog-eat-dog world.
And I think it promotes like a view that I agree with, which is just like, even the worst people are human. They can be, doesn't mean they're redeemable necessarily. Like you can't redeem everything. There's no being redeemed from genocide. You've done it. You're done.
Which always makes it this very interesting. Like, I love how this started as a conversation about Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter. And it's just kind of turned into a Hunter x Hunter conversation because it is the superior show. I'm sorry.
We can come back to Yu Yu Hakusho.
We'll come back to it. We will. I promise.
We can clearly just talk about these shows. They're amazing.
I love Hunter x Hunter so much. I also love Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah, absolutely. Yu Yu Hakusho is easier to revisit.
The spiders are that first dark reflection into Gon, where even like where he's like, I don't get it. How can you be so sad about losing a friend when you can kill so many people? Sitting next to Killua, who has killed so many people.
Yeah.
It's just that selfishness in Gon.
Though also, Gon, I think, also sees this not really a decision that Killua made, right?
I guess.
Because like his family sort of just pushed him into it, and Killua wanted to leave. So he sees it as differently. But like it is also like, it's the thing that pulls Gon back from being like an actual sociopath, right? Is that like he's like,
he has that moral like right wrong compass.
I don't just hurt people ever. Like I only fuck with people who fuck with me. And it's the thing that keeps him as like heroic at his core, is that like he's never out to hurt people.
Yeah.
He's a little callous in like what he cares about, but like I think with the Hunter thing, like the Hunter exam thing, he was like, yeah, like these people took on this risk knowingly.
Yeah, they chose to do this.
So like
they signed the waiver.
This is on them.
Mm-hmm. How would you compare Gon to Yusuke as a protagonist? And would you even call Gon necessarily the protagonist? Because at a certain points, I feel like there isn't necessarily a singular protagonist in Hunter x Hunter.
I mean, for the first, I think maybe now 2/3 of the story, he's the protagonist.
But I feel like almost at a certain point, it swaps over to Killua. Somewhere in the Chimera Ant arc, it becomes Killua's story.
I think it's still Gon's story in the Chimera Ant arc. Well, though, but like there's a few protagonists in the Chimera Ant. It starts as I guess it's fluid, right?
Yeah,
because it starts as definitely Gon.
At a certain point, it's almost like both of them being.
It starts as Gon, then it's Gon and Killua, then it's Kurapika.
Yeah, during York New.
Then back to Gon and Killua, and then Gon, Killua, and Meruem, I'd say.
Yeah, and then it's Killua.
And then it's definitely Killua. Yeah, absolutely. And then after that, neither Gon nor Killua. Kurapika's back. He's mostly the main character now.
Yeah. But just in terms of that, it's interesting seeing how the fleshed out characters in Hunter x Hunter compared to like all of the quote unquote side characters in Hunter x Hunter kind of each deserve their own spot in the spotlight. Whereas even the core four in Yu Yu Hakusho, it's still almost always Yusuke's story. Like Kuwabara ggets a bit of shine in Chapter Black, but that's about it.
To the point of being like a little frustrating.
Yeah,
because like you want Kuwabara to get more.
Kuwabara's my favorite character,
like
as he should be.
Yeah, and like I like you can argue like maybe the one problem with like the dub is like I love the voice that they have for
I love Kuwabara.
But like that voice,
you're going to have the rest of the conversation like this.
That voice is great for him in the first arc, but as the story goes on, it doesn't really reflect the totality of his character. He's genuinely more than that voice lets on, and but like it's harder to see that when you're hearing. Again, love Sabat's work in the show, but
I adore it. And I do think he's able to throw it, like even doing that goofy voice, he's able to throw in that nuance during his times of struggle that I think works so well.
he just has to really dial it back. He has to like turn it into more of a rasp when like. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta talk like this sometimes.
But unfortunately, the SoCal thing still kind of like cuts into the. But like, Kuwabara is a character that like maybe is treated the worst in Yu Yu Hakusho in terms of like the male leads. Because you could
which is why I feel like it falls off so hard in that last arc, because Kuwabara is this like kind of emotional heart of the crew.
He's the heart of the team for sure, and him being gone is a problem. And maybe Togashi, if he looked back, would be like, yeah, that was a mistake.
It's like you have this entire last arc where he just doesn't have a place in it, and which I think he like kind of resolves a bit better in Hunter x Hunter, because every character has their place in their time. Leorio, he's there throughout the entire first arc, but it's very clear that his goal isn't the same as everybody else's. He'll show up from time to time to help, but he's never going to be like a key guy.
And maybe it's true. Like maybe if Yu Yu Hakusho had taken the Hunter x Hunter approach of like maybe Chapter Black is more about Kuwabara than Yusuke.
Which it could have been.
And then maybe we leave Yusuke and Kuwabara behind to go to the demon world with Kurama and Hiei for a while. Like maybe because like it's possible that he made Yusuke part demon just to push him into the demon world and explore that story more.
Maybe
because he wanted somewhere to go.
Yeah, which is why I think like overall, I think like the ending of this just has to come down to the fact that I think Hunter x Hunter is the superior product.
Yeah, well, and I want to say like we were talking about like how he like he builds on his own ideas into Hunter x Hunter from Yu Yu Hakusho. I just want to also note that like one of the ways he does that is kind of simple things like transgender representation, right?
A bit.
His first bit of transgender representation sucks.
Miyuki?
Yeah, it's really bad. It's just full on transphobic.
It's either like I think it was more like transvestite than it was like.
But it's still
the
fucked
idea
up.
is the same.
Like,
but with
like,
the final arc of the anime of Hunter x Hunter, you have Killua's younger brother / sister.
No, just sister.
Just sister. Sorry, they refer to them as brother.
Killua's family misgenders Aluka.
But Aluka and Nanika, such a beautiful relationship for them to have.
And it's a great arc for him as a person, right? Where he's like, you know what? I fucked up. Let me try again.
Yeah, because he'd been manipulated throughout his entire life, had a fucking needle in his head telling him what not to do. I should protect I should protect Aluka and Nanika. Yeah,
like, and the fact that like, you know, Killua, like, it was Togashi's like arc though of like he messed up in how he portrayed queer people in Yu Yu Hakusho.
Not that he's spotless in Hunter x Hunter. But.
No, but like he really messed up in portraying like a character that could be seen as transgender. And then he actually like there was a story I haven't watched or read where he also made a trans rep story like about trans people. It was more of like a slice of life drama.
Interesting.
And then you get to Aluka in Hunter x Hunter where it's very respectful representation where like you're getting this character that Killua is heroic in that arc partially because he's like, this is my sister, call her my sister because that's what she is. Fuck you people, I'm taking her out of here. Like, and he protects her. And it's a great example of like not only building on his ideas just as a storyteller, but also just as a person. Like just like developing his understanding of other people.
I don't remember there being a scene of him referring to Aluka as his sister. I remember him consistently referring to Aluka, like referring to himself as Aluka's brother, but I don't remember that specifically.
He specifically.
Okay.
He like points to someone's like, Aluka's a girl. Like
okay.
he says it out loud. I know because like trans people find that very
okay,
very impactful.
As somebody who's not a part of that community, I appreciate that is something that is better represented here.
Yeah, like it's very meaningful to a lot of people, and like it's meaningful to people also that Togashi didn't give up. He didn't just go, oh well, I'm never gonna portray trans people again. He said, I'll do it better.
Yeah,
and he got better. And like I've seen a lot of trans people talk about how it means a lot that he kept trying.
I also love Aluka / Nanika as a concept because while the king was clearly this, pinnacle of Nen, Aluka / Nanika is something beyond that. Like their power is almost godlike.
Yeah, like she's like an elder god.
Yeah.
like she's like some sort of like eldritch spirit imbued in a child.
Yeah, and I love that. Also, the fact that Nanika roughly translates to "What's this?"
and it's very cool concept, and also
such a cute character too. I love their interactions. Like another thing that like gets me to tear up all the time is when Killua at the end's talking to Aluka and Nanika and
telling
like,
Nanika to go away.
Like, and she's just like the sad,
she just
the
cries,
sad, hollow-eyed face,
and like
telling Killua, I was like, I love you.
Human, like,
yeah, it's like, oh, my heart,
yeah.
Oh.
Well, and it's also like it's a great example of like, Killua is also like denying part of who Aluka is in that moment.
Who Nanika is specifically.
Well, but Aluka and Nanika are
one
intertwined. So Killua was trying to make Aluka deny a part of herself, just like the rest of the family, and he apologized and changed his mind
and said like, I'm going to stay with you forever, and I will protect you.
So
I will be your guardian.
So on a thematic level, it's also like in line with like the story that's been told, and like very impactful in that way because it's an extension of Aluka being trans.
And you have the entire other side of that like arc, which is basically just a big ol' like election arc, which I don't know. Some people are thrown off, but I love that Hunter x Hunter kept changing its identity throughout. It wasn't always just a battle shonen anime or an adventure anime. The fact that you had a political thriller at the end as well was fascinating,
and something they sort of continue into the next arc as well.
Like I love it took me a while to come around on this, but I really like Pariston as a villain.
Yeah, it takes a bit for you to really for him to grow on you, but he, it's kind of nice that he among all these high stakes, he's kind of a lower stakes villain.
He's a very he is, but at the same time, the stakes that they're setting up in the background is like this is the kind of power that this guy could have. All of those Chimera Ant people are now in our facilities. If he's giving control of that, what will he do?
Yeah,
and then at the end, you just realize he doesn't give a shit. He just wants to fuck around and have fun. Like he just wants a challenge. He's not here for power. He's here for he's literally just a troll.
He wants to play the game.
Yeah, he's here to play the game, and that's something that he and Ging both respect about each other. Like I'll never. My favorite villain moment with him is how did you know that this was going to happen, Pariston? It was the moment that Ging said he wasn't going to go visit his son. It's the fact that but why? You hate him. You don't trust him. No, these are the people that he trusted to save his son. I trusted I trusted the people that he trusted because I trust him as an enemy. And that's fucking brilliant.
And, I will say when you do get further into the manga, like the next story arc in the manga, it also adds more depth to Netero because eventually you see Netero's son. He has a son, and he's a piece of shit.
Oh, for sure.
He's an absolute shitheel. He's a monster. And it's Netero can't have been that good of a guy.
No.
To raise this man. Or not raise this man, potentially.
Yeah.
Because what he was spending fucking years, licking dew or whatever he was doing to get powerful.
Yeah, the 2 years that he spent punching air and giving thanks to Buddha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess at the end of the day, Yu Yu Hakusho might have the better highs when it comes to actual combat, actual fighto battle shonen. But
it probably gets you the most pumped.
Absolutely. But Hunter x Hunter, by far the superior product.
It has the most depth for sure.
Yes.
If
you're young, Yu Yu Hakusho slaps way harder, but once you actually have more nuance and appreciation for storytelling, Hunter x Hunter is so fucking good.
And talking about rewatches, rewatching Yu Yu Hakusho is a much more breezy, comfortable experience than rewatching Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, I can watch Yu Yu Hakusho on a treadmill. I can't watch Hunter x Hunter and be doing anything else.
It's active. Yeah.
Yeah. So What about you? What do you take away from this? Which do you prefer?
Do you think it was a cop out that were like, both are good in different ways?
It's fucking true, but I will stand by the fact that Hunter x Hunter is just better.
I think, I don't know. I have trouble making that distinction. I have trouble making that distinction just because like they are so different in tone. But
what about you?
What about you?
Do you cop out?
Engagement.
孤独でも一人じゃないさ。生まれてきたことに必ず意味がある。You can smile again. You can go away. Because the video's over. Go away.